And welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the vodcast. Welcome to the broadcast. Boys and girls, welcome to the show. This is Convincing Idiots. I'm Dean.
I'm Brian. I am Nick. A little eager to jump the gun here.
That's
been missing out. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time tuning in, we are three friends.
You should let the guy that didn't say his name, because I don't know his name, so you should let him say his name.
I did. He said his name was Brian. Brian, what's your name?
I think you're correct. It's Brian, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Good. Anyway, that's Brian. I'm Nick. If this is your first time tuning in, we are three friends, I think still.
Not after this conversation.
All from three different generations, just talking about pop culture and nerd culture and things like that. And you can find us on Instagram at convincing_idiots. You can email us at convincingidiots@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
We can also be found on Facebook and YouTube under Convincing Idiots as well. And we are now on Twitter, and that is at Convincing Idiot, singular. And so we're going to just go around the table here, catch up. Ryan, what's been going on? How we been?
I am good. Nick, you're feeling better?
Yes, the line for Millennial Santa was so long. I was in line for hours and still, I couldn't make the cut in time to make it here. No,
You didn't get to see him?
I did get to see him. Did get to see him, and it all paid off because I did ask him for a super neato Convincing Idiots shirt. And somebody came through. There was a nifty gift under my tree last night.
Wow.
Yes.
So Millennial Santa came through.
I had to beat up a homeless man for this one. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Dean.
Thank you very much. I don't know where Millennial Santa got mine, so it very well could have come from.
It was a trio of homeless guys.
Yeah. But no, I was under the weather last week. It was not COVID. I was tested, so just a standard cold or flu, which everyone is going to have to deal with probably as the weather changes at some point or another. So that's fun. But no, I really enjoyed listening to you guys last week. You guys sounded great. Brian, thank you for the neato headset. I feel so much more relaxed and at ease talking. I will say, though, the content of the show got real old real fast. There was a subject at some point came up with. It started with comic strips on bubblegum wrappers, and somewhere between that and black coffee and soup for lunch. But I would like to say
that's right. That's right.
I would like to say for the record, tall is small, grande is medium, and venti is large at Starbucks. So there you go.
Just give me a goddamn black coffee.
Tall is small, grande is medium, and so venti is the biggest.
Venti is large. Yes.
Okay, good. That's. Yeah, that does stress me out, like we said last week.
I mean,
okay, good.
In Italian, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it's what is it? Venti is the only one that doesn't mean large, isn't that right?
Right.
Tall is a larger size typically.
Right.
Tall compared to small. Grande is large in. Is it Spanish that would be grande? Grande is large, big.
I only know that because I have it written on the front of all my underwear.
Ah.
Grande?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What, you don't believe me? I'll kill you.
We'll
you can write it on there all you want. I mean, that's fine.
With magic marker.
We'll talk to Megan. We'll have Megan be a special guest sometime and give us that'll be a special bonus episode.
Look for that, guys.
Yeah. Maybe New Year's for your birthday or something.
Well, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about Dean's underwear today, thank goodness. We're going to talk about...
See you guys.
Yeah. We're delving into sports rivalries.
Yes.
Again, so this could be team versus team, coach versus coach, athlete versus athlete. But, so... what I got, I'll just start us out here. Growing up, one of my favorite rivalries was Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. So, a little bit of background with these guys. Of course, I do have my little notes here and stuff.
Stat man.
That's right.
Stat man.
That's right. Just to the POW band or something. Yeah.
I need to get there somewhere.
Yeah.
So everybody's heard of these players, of course, but if you grew up in the 80s, I mean, the Celtics versus Lakers, right? It was unprecedented in, well, actually, even prior to that. I mean, the Lakers and Celtics in the NBA Finals in general has played, I'm sure, the most times against each other than any team in history. I mean, a lot of the Celtics championships of even the 60s were against the Lakers with Jerry West and Bill Russell of the Celtics and all that. And
do you have a stat on that? How many times those teams have met?
You know, I do in the 80s. Well, first of all, Bird and Magic, they came out of college together, so that was a big hype. So Bird came out of Indiana State and Magic out of Michigan State. They played against each other in the 79 championship in college, entered the league together in their first year, the rookie year. Bird won Rookie of the Year, but the Magic got his first championship, actually, with Kareem and the Lakers. So
in his rookie year.
In his rookie year.
Okay.
Yeah. So from 1980 to 1989, I think about that. So the entire 80s decade, either the Celtics or the Lakers won 8 of those championships.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
Two seasons that either one did not win. I know one was Dr. J and the Sixers beat the Lakers, and the other 89, I think that might have been Detroit beating also the Lakers. So it's like either one of those two teams were representing the East.
That 89 Isaiah Thomas team, right?
That's right, the Bad Boys. And that's actually we'll be a little segue into that later. Johnson was the MVP in the finals 3 times. Bird 2 times. Let's see here. Bird was the league MVP 5 of those 10 years in the 80s, and then Johnson won it twice. So these were 2 of the top players in all of basketball. Yeah. Jordan came into the league, I think, 85, 86.
I think it was
season.
80, yeah.
So he was a rookie and definitely an up-and-comer, but at that point, Bird and Magic were just ruling the league. And these 2 guys initially, you've heard a lot of these stories before, but they didn't like each other to begin with. And you also had
personally
that,
or just on the
personally,
court?
Both.
Huh.
They didn't like each other coming out of college and coming into the league. They both definitely wanted to beat each other. And then you had all that dynamic of, Bird's let's just be real. Bird was a white guy going out to Boston on the East Coast. Working hard team, blue collar town, all that crap. Mm-hmm. They had other white players, and it was just all this stuff. And then Magic, it actually fit perfectly. The Magic goes out to the West Coast with the flashy Lakers, Showtime, and all that, Hollywood, and both players fit into their areas perfectly. And
that's true.
That added a whole other dynamic to that rivalry. And those teams in general did not like each other. I mean, if you go back and if you've not seen any of these, go back and watch on YouTube or something like that. Watch the 84, 85 finals, Lakers versus Celtics, and then they met again in 87. But those 84 and 85 finals, that's your stuff happening back in the league back then that would not happen today.
Fist fights?
Fist fights.
Oh, yeah. They were super physical back then, too.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that slid by back then.
And no ejections.
Nope.
You're not going to see, there's Kevin McHale of the Celtics famously clotheslined Kurt Rambis, the guy with the glasses. You've seen him back then.
Really?
No foul, no ejection. It's just stuff that you can't get away with today. So very physical. And then Converse had a new shoe line, these weapon shoes back in, I don't want to say probably 85 or something like that. But so Bird and Magic filmed a commercial together in Larry Bird's hometown of French Lick, Indiana. And that was the first time they really had an opportunity to talk on the set and get to know each other. And then ever since that commercial, they gained a friendship. Bird invited Magic back to his household home. Magic met Bird's mom and family. And ever since then, it was more of a mutual respect. And then when Bird retired in Boston, Magic was there, came out in his Lakers warm-ups and took his jacket off wearing a Celtics shirt and all this stuff. I mean, and to this day, they speak very highly of one another and everything. So, but that was, and back then too. I mean, this is the NBA finals were on, freaking tape delay. Think about that. Think about it of any championship series of any sport, you cannot watch live because it's got such poor ratings.
Yeah.
And with Bird and Magic coming in the league, they really helped save the NBA and then certainly set the table for, Dr. J was kind of on the way out and he was a power for a while, but then, later 80s, Jordan comes in, Barkley, and that
it was
era,
embarrassment
90s.
riches at that time, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But, Bird and Magic definitely, in my time, I don't think you'll probably ever see anything like those two teams fighting it out as much as they did. I mean, the Cavs, and we had the Cavs and Warriors recently, and that was pretty cool. But the Warriors were, for the most part, they were just too talented for the Cavs.
Well, the Warriors were
wasn't
a team.
that
the
even.
Cavs were one guy.
yeah, that's right. So it wasn't not the same.
You brought up about the them doing the tape delay because the rating is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Now Jordan's what changed that, correct? Jordan is
Bird and Magic changed that. So Bird and Magic changed.
They brought
the
ratings in, and
Matter of fact, the whole rule when they had the in the championship, you had the two. It used to be 2 home, 1-1-1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because the Celtics and the Lakers were playing so much, and they had to travel across country, they were the ones that they caused that rule to change. And for several years in the NBA, it was 2-3-2. As far as the home team, 2-3-2. Now I think they switched it back since.
Yeah, it's changed a couple times, but it's back to 2-2-1-1-1. Yeah.
Yeah, but because they played so much in the 80s 3 times, they changed that rule. So but by the time Jordan got there, he just of course took it to another level and everything like that. But and then he had the Dream Team in '92, and it was a whole thing. But those two really resurrected the league, and it was something else. So that's my top rivalry probably in my lifetime.
Now leading into that, now you remember watching that as a kid and stuff like that, and Dean kind of touched on it with the Bad Boy Pistons. That was one that I think that you had as well. I've got not necessarily Bulls Pistons, but kind of Michael Jordan versus Pistons.
Yes.
One of the highlights for me of COVID and for a lot of people was the Last Dance documentary. I don't know if either one of you guys watched that, but it was like it was the highlight of everything.
I missed it.
I look forward to every Sunday to watch 2 hours
on my
of
queue.
documentary. Yeah, it's just it's incredible.
Yeah, very good.
I was born in '88, so in my consciousness of sports, I mean, Michael Jordan was everything to everybody. I mean, that was basically, I mean, he was so big, I didn't really even fully realize that we had a pro basketball team in Cleveland as a kid. I thought the Cavs were like the Lumberjacks
Neither
or the Rockers.
did anybody else.
Well, now, wait, now, the 80s Cavs had some good teams.
They did. But by that, I mean, Michael Jordan was, and at this point, I mean, when I'm a kid, Michael Jordan is winning all the time. And that's kind of the culture you've come to know. What I didn't realize, and what the documentary kind of pointed out to me, was how, his first few years in the league, he was kind of considered to be a choke artist because of Magic and Bird. And, these guys, you had to try to get through these teams to get there, and he couldn't get through the Celtics. And, the Pistons were always there. The Pistons were winning a lot at that time. And there again, Dean, going back to the physicality of the game back then, the Pistons would beat the shit out of Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
They even talked about it in the dressing room. They were like, we're going to go out there, and that guy's not getting in the paint. He's not getting close to the bucket because we are going to annihilate him every time he comes in here. Oh, and that's exactly what they did. There again, no calls, no ejections, no nothing. And that actually kind of led to Michael Jordan getting over the hump, because he took one of those off seasons and he's worked out like a madman, bulked up, got strength training. He's like, I'm going to fight them back. Like, they're not going to push me around like that anymore. And so it was just a different time back then, but the Pistons really did dominate kind of in some of those years when Larry and Magic were on their way out of the league a little bit. The Pistons dominated, and it was their league. I mean, they were winning all the time, and they were the Bulls' kryptonite, because at that time, that was, Scotty was kind of coming into his own, and they were pretty much Michael Jordan doing what LeBron did in Cleveland for the first 7 years or whatever of his career. I mean, where he, despite his best efforts, I think he took them. They went to a finals one time before he left in 2007, but they got swept by San Antonio in the finals. But that was a team that had no right being anywhere near finals. But that was that kind of level that LeBron was at as a young kid, and that was the level that Michael was able to elevate the Bulls to at that time too. But there were some great rivalries there too. I mean, the way they went after him, the way the game was so much different, and now the way they protect stars, especially in basketball, those guys get a lot of calls and things like that. Back then, just not the case.
Yeah, and it was different back then too, because you didn't have this, like you have today, where a great player kind of maps his own way. And so if he says, I want to go play for the Lakers, somehow he winds up getting there. That was just not happening back then, really. Right. Those players stayed with their teams for several years, and you go back to Detroit. I mean, Boston for years was the team that Detroit couldn't get past. They would keep getting beat by Boston, and you just kind of see it happening. Boston goes down a little bit, Detroit gets stronger, and finally Detroit beats Boston, and then now they're king of the East for a couple years. And like you say, the Bulls and Michael Jordan just could not get past Detroit. It's 4 consecutive years. So 88, 89, 90, and 91. The Bulls, for 88, 89, and 90, were eliminated by the Pistons in the playoffs. And a couple of those were in the Eastern Finals until finally, 91, Michael Jordan got his due, and they swept the Pistons. And then that was the end of the Bad Boys and the beginning of the Bulls dynasty at that point.
And to your point, I mean, as far as players staying put, the Chicago Bulls at this time when Michael Jordan was drafted, they were never I mean, he put them on the map. I mean, he made them the historic franchise they are now, because they were even in that documentary. I think they mentioned they're like the Blackhawks drew way more than the Bulls. I mean, they had the Cubs, and they had these other sports teams, but the Bulls were an afterthought. The Bulls were in danger, severe danger at that time financially. And Michael Jordan being drafted, and there's a clip of him doing a press conference where he's saying he hopes to, bring some notoriety to the Chicago Bulls franchise and all this stuff. And I mean, truer words have never been spoken. He sure as hell did. I mean, because now the Bulls are a marquee franchise in all of basketball and all of pro sports because of what he did. But at that time, the Bulls were nothing. I mean, they had no history of success or anything like that.
Yeah, that was fun to watch. And you just knew sooner or later it was going to happen, year after year. And then finally they overtook them. So that was definitely a great one there too. And the Pistons too back then. Boy, if you were not a Pistons fan, you hated them.
Yeah.
You hated them because of the dirty play, and you had Isaiah running his mouth, and Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn, and actually Dennis Rodman was there in his younger years, and he had good years there too. And he was a solid player.
My dad,
fucking Rick Mahorn.
Yeah, boy, yeah.
My dad went to some Cavs games around that time.
Dean's like, I don't know who the hell Rick Mahorn is.
My dad, I think, was going to Cavs games around that time, and he actually, he despised the Pistons, and further, he hated Dennis Rodman. And Dennis Rodman, up until very recently, Dennis Rodman was my favorite player of all time, just because of that, because he was such a shit stirrer in the way he played. And Dennis Rodman's not going to go and drop 30 points on you, but rebounds, the defensive player he was a force. And there's some really great documentaries on all this stuff on ESPN. There's a one just on Dennis Rodman alone that's fantastic. It's an ESPN, one of those, I think it's the E60 series on Dennis Rodman. There's a good one on the Pistons from that time as well, the Bad Boys. That's a 30 for 30 or whatever on ESPN. And I'm pretty sure there's some good Lakers Magic ones Lakers Celtics ones on there too.
There are definitely. So if you can find those out there, they have a whole document. It was like a 3 or 4 part series of the Celtics versus Lakers, and you had current players going back and
I saw about one that is specifically Magic and Bird talking about their rivalry.
Yeah, they're good ones out there. Yeah, go back and check those out. The 80s was a whole different world of basketball at the time. So
when Jordan is his heyday, it's that rivalry really could have been Jordan and the Bulls against the NBA.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of great players at that time.
For whatever stretch. How many was it? How many of the titles they win?
Well, they won 6, 3, and 3, 3 back to back to back. Then 1 year or 2 years off while he went to play baseball. And then 3 more.
For that stretch. I mean, that's Jordan against the NBA. That could be the rivalry.
That's actually an interesting one. You're right, because back then, same type of deal. I mean, people, how it goes. It's like the Patriots and all these great teams. Right. I mean, people, you root for them for a while, and then you sort of get tired of them, and a lot of people start to root against them because they want to see the dynasty topple. And you're right. At the time, there was, if you weren't a big Michael Jordan Bulls fan, you probably were rooting for the Suns and other people to beat them in the finals. And stuff like that.
Look how many NBA Hall of Fame caliber NBA players never won a title because they played in the same era as Michael Jordan. Sure. Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone. These guys, Stockton, they never won anything because they played in the same time frame that Michael Jordan did.
Yep.
I love it. I could do a whole podcast on Michael Jordan and all that. Especially watching that documentary. Touche. I will say, I don't think there will ever be another Michael Jordan because the man was insane. Like what he did to himself to put himself in a mindset to win is, it's mentally, it's not healthy, but I mean, it's just incredible. So,
always heard he was a huge dick too. Not that he had a huge dick, but that he was a huge dick and a horrible tipper.
He if you watch that documentary, The Bull, I mean, he definitely if he pushed you on, if you played with him, either you appreciated the fact that he pushed you hard by pushing your buttons, or you probably just couldn't freaking stand him. But you had to respect him because he got you there. He backed it up.
Yep.
He backed it up every damn time, So, all right. So, Dean, before we get to your rivalry, why don't we take a breath, and we'll come back here shortly.
Breathe,
pick it back up. All right. Yes. I don't know what the hell that was. All right. We'll be back in just a minute.
It was fun though.
Yeah.
And it's recording.
It is started.
There it is.
There it goes. So you got to whenever you're ready, sir.
How deep can you guys get your voice on this?
I can get pretty deep if I need to.
Oh, that sounds good. I like that.
It's pretty good.
Brian just burped.
That's real nice.
That's good.
Oh, that's real nice. That's real nice.
That's some deep sounding love burps.
That's all bass, baby. That's all bass.
Boom, bop, boom, bop, bow, bow,
bow. Yep. All right.
And we are kicking it up.
That's right.
We should do an episode on the Oak Ridge Boys. Huh?
Oak Ridge Boys, best.
I see them in concert.
Why does that not surprise me?
They opened for Kenny Rogers.
I was going to say they opened for Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
Which were they as sad or not as sad?
No, they were the most entertaining part of it. Kenny Rogers was sad because he forgot half the lyrics.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
And he was insulting the crowd. Like he told us we're the worst damn crowd he's ever been in front of. It was sad.
Well, that's a bit of a gamble.
Getting the lyrics, you're the worst crowd.
Yeah. But the Oak Ridge Boys actually, I mean, that dude that does that deep voice, I mean, it sounded like a fucking record playing.
Yeah.
And that just showed how old I am also. Record playing.
Oak Ridge Boys.
That's right.
Yep.
All right.
Are you ready for the countdown?
Yeah.
And we off in the cool 5, 4, 3,